What was the most important chip in Trump's hand in this round of tariffs? He had neither favorable timing, nor geographical advantages, nor popular support. But Trump said, "I have a will of steel as firm as a rock. I'm willing to harm myself, even if it means bringing down the US economy. Even if I have to sacrifice 10,000, I will still wound the enemy by 100. I don't know if I can achieve the divine skill, but I'll castrate myself first. I'll risk my life to pull out a tuft of your hair." Sure enough, some people immediately said, "Look, the stock market in China has dropped. How can you say that? We can still win. How can you say that the US is going to lose? When the stock market drops, the right thing to do is to surrender immediately." I'm really speechless to those who say such things. Now, we are engaged in a trade war with the US, the world's largest economy. Do you know what war is? Obviously, Trump is now launching a self-harming attack, which has led to a global stock market crash, especially in the US. In the past 2 trading days, $6.6 trillion has evaporated, which is equivalent to 23% of the US GDP in 2024. It has been wiped out in just 2 days. It can be said that the US has paid the greatest price in history for this attack. It's almost like using all its national strength and dragging the whole world down with it. At this time, as the world's largest trading country, how can we not be affected? Do you really think that we can defeat the US without paying any price by lying flat? This is like me asking you, did we win the Battle of Triangle Hill? The whole world knows that we won, but some people just don't agree. They ask, how did we win? We had more than 10,000 casualties. How can you say that's a win? After all the arguing, we withstood the intense firepower and annihilated 15,000 of the most elite US coalition forces. Isn't that a win? Can't we bear even a single casualty? So, whenever there is a slight fluctuation in the stock market, some people immediately start shouting that we shouldn't have counterattacked the US, that we should quickly adjust and even admit our mistakes. This reminds me of what some people said 6 years ago, surrender quickly. Now is the time with the lowest cost. In the future, you will not only have to kneel, but also raise your hands. In any war, whether it's a technological war, a trade war, or a hot war, you can't expect to have no losses at all. In this tariff war, who has suffered more losses? Who is more anxious now? With the plunge of the US stock market, Trump has to step forward and say, "I did this on purpose. This is my well-thought-out plan. The US must hold on." Many people, seeing Trump say this, become very nervous and say, "Look, I told you so." Trump is playing a big game. He has a grand strategy and backup plans, but he doesn't have any backup plans. If he wins this, he'll claim that he's in control from afar and has everything under his command, and his supporters will cheer. But when he realizes that things aren't going as he thought, he starts using the big game excuse to save face, saying, "Don't panic. This is all part of my plan. I have my own tricks." What does Trump want to do? Before and after the tariff war, Trump has stated his goals twice. The first time, Trump said that if TikTok is sold to him, he might consider reducing tariffs. The second time, Trump said that if China meets his conditions on issues such as fentanyl, he might consider reducing tariffs. Then Trump started the tariff war, waiting for China to negotiate with him. To his surprise, China didn't even bother to negotiate and directly counterattacked, showing him what true reciprocal tariffs are. Trump was shocked and wrote on social media that China was wrong and that this shouldn't be the case. Obviously, Trump didn't expect China to directly counterattack without negotiation. Why didn't China negotiate with him? During his first term, Trump's tactics were already very familiar to us. He had no chips at all, but he bluffed and exerted extreme pressure. If you agreed to his conditions today, you would have to give in every time in the future. Tariffs were a weapon he could use at any time. A month later, he would raise tariffs again and set more conditions, which was equivalent to giving him benefits for nothing. As the saying goes, if you give in a little today, you'll have to give in even more tomorrow. And then you'll have a short-lived peace, only to find that the problems come back again. The Vietnamese may not know this, but in China, even children can recite it. Now the situation in the US is a mess. Before the tariff war, eggs were already $1 each, and now it's even worse. So everyone is rushing to stock up in supermarkets. In the future, the US won't even be able to have $0 shopping because the shelves will be emptied. In just 2 days, there have been more than 1,500 rallies and marches against Trump in the US. Trump has no choice but to keep bringing up Vietnam, saying, look, Vietnam has surrendered. These countries are still very willing to cooperate with me. Vietnam has agreed to zero tariffs with me. But Vietnam is such a small country. In 2004, it imported a total of $14.1 billion worth of goods from the US. Even if there are zero tariffs, what good will it do? Now that the US stock market has evaporated $6.6 trillion, is this the result Trump wanted? So Trump is panicking again and starts talking nonsense. He just said that the stock market crash was part of his plan, but then he thought it was wrong. If he admitted that he deliberately crashed the stock market, all the stock investors would hate him in the future. What about the votes? So a few hours later, Trump changed his tune and said incoherently that he didn't mean to crash the stock market. He kept changing his story and then pretended to play golf to show that he was calm, but his heart was actually very nervous. Then he said, I can't tell you what changes the market will have in the future, but the US will definitely get better and better. Even he himself doesn't believe this. Many people say that Europe must not give in now. If Europe gives in, we will be in trouble. Recently, the European media said that they have reached an agreement to impose reciprocal tariffs on $28 billion worth of US goods. Of course, I also hope that Europe won't give in, but it's really unreliable to count on them. First of all, $28 billion is nothing. Secondly, Europe has to hold repeated meetings. Now many of them are thinking about giving up retaliation and surrendering. Let's see how they argue in the meetings. In fact, if we think about it, we'll know that Trump has always advocated focusing on attacking China, even at the cost of abandoning Ukraine to win over Russia. During Trump's first term, he concentrated his efforts to launch a trade war and a technological war against China, regardless of everything. At that time, Europe, Canada, and other countries were not involved at all. Trump wanted to fight China one-on-one and impose tariffs on China alone. In the Biden era, Trump's policies were continued, and the US started to rally the whole world to surround and suppress China. But what is the final result? After 6 years of trade war, China has become stronger and stronger. Its exports have increased from $2.18 trillion in 2018 to $3.58 trillion in 2024. And the US has become poorer and poorer. Its national debt has soared from $21 trillion to $36 trillion. 6 years ago, Trump fought against China alone and ended in failure. Today, 6 years later, is he still able to win if he wants to fight against the whole world? In fact, the reason why Trump dared to launch a self-harming attack is that he has chips. That is the core advantage of the US, the courage to be worse off, the courage to give up. Trump said, I'm willing to sacrifice 10,000 to wound the enemy by 100. Even if it means bringing down the US economy, I'll still take the risk. Do you dare? Trump is betting that you don't dare. But the US really dares. So now the prices in the US are soaring, and there are constant protests and marches against Trump every day, but they don't care at all. The US really has an advantage in these aspects. Just look at them. There are gunfights every day, and tens of thousands of people are involved every year. It's like a game to them. Americans think it's normal. There are drug addicts and homeless people everywhere. The major cities are surrounded by zombies, and Americans are not surprised. The Capitol Hill riot, the $0 shopping in shopping malls, and Americans are as happy as if it were the new year. Just think about it. Can we live such a life? The Americans' tolerance is really stronger than ours. So when the epidemic came, the US directly chose to do nothing. They didn't care at all. So last time, when Chinese and American netizens compared notes on Zhao Shongshu, both sides were shocked. The US was surprised that China was completely different from what they thought. There was such a wonderful country. And China was surprised by the Americans. Their ability to survive is really strong. So Trump had the courage to start blackmailing, shouting, I'll risk my life to pull out a tuft of your hair. Let's see if you dare to fight back. Trump said, I dare to bet. Do you dare? So when people saw Trump's aggressive stance, many of them immediately panicked and said, what should we do? We should surrender quickly. Now is the time with the lowest cost. Many people ask, what should we do if the stock market drops? Well, the US Treasury Secretary has already given the answer. The US Treasury Secretary said, don't resist. What he means is that if Trump slaps you, don't fight back. As long as you don't resist, this matter will be over. If you do resist, the nature of the matter will change. It will be a fight, and Trump will continue to hit you. After saying this, the U.S. Treasury Secretary himself felt embarrassed. Now there is news that he is about to resign, because anyone can see that this is not just a slap. There will be more slaps coming, one after another. So, to sum up, what is the truth about Trump's launch of this round of tariff war? The so-called return of manufacturing, the so-called eccentric, and the rebuilding of a century-old foundation are all nonsense. Trump doesn't look at things in the long term. He only cares about the next 2 years. Now he just hopes to win the midterm elections. The Boeing factory is in a mess. The workers are using drugs in the workshop when producing airplanes, and the accident rate is high. Either the wheels or the pod doors fall off. Now they can't even keep their own manufacturing industry, let alone expect the return of manufacturing. At this level, there is no chance of the return of manufacturing. So there is no grand strategy, no far-sighted plan. Trump is just leading a group of amateurs to court disaster. The so-called reciprocal tariffs were calculated in an Excel spreadsheet. The whole decision-making process is the same as last time when they used group chat software to casually decide to launch a military strike against the Houthi militia. The decision-making process is that simple. So the truth is that the MAGA party is desperately flattering Trump. Trump is becoming more and more arrogant, thinking that he can fight against the whole world. He bluffs, thinking that he can exert extreme pressure on all countries without any cost. He bets that everyone is afraid to resist. Whether there is a reason or not, he will take a shot first. As long as these countries accept his conditions, he will make a fortune. It would be best if they were all like Vietnam. As long as Vietnam agrees to his conditions, 2 months later, Trump will come up with another round of tariffs to force Vietnam to accept his new conditions. If his pressure is successful this time, then Trump will win big in the future. He can blackmail repeatedly without any cost and get a lot of benefits. In fact, whether other countries give in or not doesn't matter to us. What matters is that China has only one answer: to fight to the end. This time, we will make Trump lose again, just like he did 6 years ago.